All right, let's jump right in. What if you had a clear step-by-step roadmap to financial freedom? One that could actually take you from earning just a couple of bucks an hour to becoming a millionaire. Well, that's exactly what we're breaking down here, a proven five-step plan to get you there, and it really doesn't matter where you're starting from. Does this sound familiar? I mean, really familiar. You wake up, you go to work, you pay the bills, and the next day it's the exact same thing. It feels like you're just running and running, but not actually going anywhere. It's an awful feeling being stuck like that. But here's the thing, it is not a life sentence. Just knowing you want to get off that hamster wheel, that's half the battle. But what comes next? You need a plan. So what is it? Let's walk through the exact 5 steps that can take you from that feeling of being stuck to real, honest-to-goodness financial independence. Okay, first things first. Before you can hit a target, you need to know what you're aiming for, right? This is your freedom figure. It's the magic number, the amount of money you need to have invested so you can live the life you actually want without ever having to worry about money again. It's your number, so let's figure out how we get to it. So, to see how this works, let's just dream a little bit. We'll map out a hypothetical dream life, say for someone in their 20s. We're talking about living in a cool city, maybe driving a Porsche 911, taking a few awesome trips every year, plus all the basics. Now, don't get hung up on the Porsche, okay? The key here is to think about your ideal lifestyle and start plugging in your own numbers. So when we add it all up, this particular dream life costs just over $75,000 a year. That's our baseline. It's the annual income we need our investments to kick off for us. But how much do you actually need in the bank to generate that kind of cash flow? And that brings us to this super simple but incredibly powerful guideline. It's called the Rule of 25. The basic idea is that once you have 25 times your annual expenses invested, you can safely pull out about 4% each year. And based on how markets have performed historically, you should never, ever run out of money. So let's do the math. We take our annual expenses, that's 75 grand, and we multiply it by 25. And that gives us our freedom figure, just under $1.9 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. That looks like a huge number. But don't let it scare you. It's not impossible. It's just a target. And now we've got a plan to hit it. The best way to wrap your head around this big number is to think of it like owning a golden goose. That $1.9 million, that's your goose. And you never ever touch the goose. You just live off the golden eggs it lays for you every year. That's your investment income. As long as you protected the goose, it just keeps on producing forever.
So, the big question is, how on earth do we get to that freedom figure? Well, that brings us to step 2. It's all about getting there way faster by being smart, really smart, about your biggest expenses. And listen, this isn't about giving up your daily latte. This is about making big strategic moves that can save you literally thousands of dollars.
Let's start with a huge one, cars. The average payment on a new car is over $700 a month. That is insane. That's nearly $9,000 a year just vanishing. The alternative? Something called car hacking. You buy a good, quality used car that's already taken its biggest hit in depreciation. A lot of times, you can drive it for a few years and sell it for pretty much what you paid for it. That frees up thousands. And this thinking works for smaller stuff too. Take brand hacking. Just choosing the store brand cereal over the name brand can save you over $2.50 for a box that's almost twice as big. Now, that might sound small, but if you find little savings like that every single day, we're talking about close to $1,000 saved in just 1 year. It adds up. Now for the biggest expense of them all, for most of us, housing. Instead of just seeing it as a bill you have to pay, think about how your home could pay you. What if you bought a duplex and had your tenant's rent cover most of the mortgage? Or rented a place with an extra bedroom you could sublet? You could even use a service like Airbnb to cover your costs when you're out of town. And here's a secret that the wealthy know. Almost everything is negotiable. For any big purchase, you have to do your homework. Know the true market value. Get quotes from a bunch of different sellers so you have leverage. And then time your attack, like trying to buy a car at the very end of the month when you know the salespeople are desperate to hit their quotas. All right, let's get into step 3. This one is all about tackling a massive myth. In fact, we're going to have to unlearn something that you've probably been told your entire life is basically financial poison. Yeah, we've all heard it, right? Credit cards are bad, they're dangerous, they're a one-way ticket to debt. But what if that's not really the whole story? What if I told you that they're actually one of the most powerful financial tools you can possibly have, if you use them the right way? Here's the key. You have to completely reframe how you think about them. A credit card isn't just for spending money. Its real power is in building your credit score. Think of your credit score as your financial reputation. A high score proves you're reliable, and that unlocks lower interest rates on the huge loans, like a mortgage. We're talking about saving you tens of thousands of dollars. The rule is just so simple. Pay it off in full every single month. No exceptions.
So let's move on to step 4. We've talked about saving money, which is awesome. Now let's talk about making more of it. Because to be truly secure, you have to think about where your income comes from in a totally different way.
I want you to think of your income like a stool. But you only have one source of income, your 9-to-5 job. It's like you're sitting on a stool with just one leg. It is incredibly wobbly and unstable. If that one leg breaks, if you get laid off or your company goes under, your entire financial life just comes crashing down.
But look what happens when you add more legs. Maybe you add a side hustle. Maybe you get some investments going. Suddenly, your stool is rock solid. If one of those income streams gets a little shaky, the others are right there to keep you stable. That is the incredible power of creating multiple streams of income. Now, I already know the first excuse that pops into your head. I'm just too busy. But are you really? Let's just do the math. There are 168 hours in a week. Take out a full-time job, 8 hours of sleep a night, time for meals and commuting, and guess what? You are still left with over 50 hours of free time every single week. The time is there. The real question is, how are you going to use it?
And this brings us to the final, and I think the most important step of them all. This is about a fundamental mindset shift. It's the one thing that truly separates the wealthy from, well, everyone else. Think about this. What is money for? For a lot of people, money is just for paying bills. For the middle class, it's often a tool to get bigger loans so they can buy nicer things. But the rich, they see money completely differently. For them, the true purpose of money is expansion. It's a tool that they use to make more money. So let's do a quick recap of the entire plan. Step 1, you calculate your specific freedom figure. You have to have a clear target. Step 2, you use smart hacks to slash your biggest expenses. 3, you use credit cards as a tool to build an amazing financial reputation. 4, you build multiple streams of income so you're stable. And finally, number 5, you adopt that wealthy mindset of using your money to make more money.
You know, this whole plan, this entire roadmap, it really comes down to one single choice. You have the plan now, and as we've already figured out, you definitely have the time. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with it? Your journey to financial freedom, it starts right now.